So when we got to NC State, just like anybody that takes a job, a lot of coaches across all of college athletics, they talk about culture, right? They talk that culture is the number one word and the most often word used that comes out of their mouth. And we got there, and that's obviously what Coach Keats was constantly preaching. We got to change the culture. We got to change the culture. We got to teach these guys how to work. We got to teach these guys what hard work is. Blah 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 blah. And I don't mean to say blah blah blah, but it was a broken record. So we got a chance to put a performance group together, and we said, you know what? Instead of just talking about culture and using that word, let's define it. Let's define it, and let's be as transparent as possible to the guys, to each other, from position to position on the staff, to make sure everyone is constantly pulling in the same direction. And so we put this PAC performance group together. I want to hit on this a little bit because this is pretty special and pretty near and dear to us. I don't want to say that we're the only ones across the country doing it, but a lot of people, stay in their own kind of corridor, and we make sure that we get in front of each other every 2 weeks or so, and we share thoughts, we share what's going on in our departments, and at the end of the day, we collaborate, because it's right here the slide says the team inside the team. We have got to present a united front. We have to be up to speed in what's going on in different areas. It means a lot. It goes a long way when, a guy comes to the weight room and I can ask him, hey, how'd your sociology test go today? Or, whatever it might have been. Hey, heard you killed it on your physics exam. Well played. Good job. Whatever it might have been. We, really think that travels. So like I said, we identified it, and we wanted to really paint a clear picture for these guys. So what we said was, culture's got to start with your mindset. You've got to be a champion in absolutely everything you do. Okay, in every realm, every walk, whatever you do on campus, we have got to just get it wired in you to think like a champion, right? So what does that mean? So you see here in our diagram, this diagram is actually in everybody's office in our department. And you see that it's a student athlete centered model. Everyone pours into the student athlete, and obviously with all the lines, we collaborate across boundaries to make sure that everybody is up to speed, and the guys know that we're pouring into them from every angle. So our team is made up of academics, myself, strength and conditioning, our nutrition team, our sports med, and our sports psychology department. So our goal was getting all these areas working together, and making sure we understand that there's a common focus, right? There's intentional communication, and the guys hear common themes across the board from day to day. And one of the slogans we kind of talk about all the time is it takes a village. We've got to build a village around these guys. Some of these guys are coming from crazy backgrounds. They're coming from broken homes and very little structure and very little means, that they've been doing things on their own for quite a long time. And whether it's trust issues, whether it's we can get all into a long list of possible pitfalls, but it's a village mentality for us, starting from Coach Keats all the way down through his staff, all the way in the weight room, and through this PAC performance group. And we decided that to maximize performance, we had to remove and minimize any roadblocks in the way, right? So what it basically circled around was those three things: structure, discipline, and accountability. So, moving forward, the head of the snake for us is academics. They set the foundation. And, at the end of the day, as much as we don't want to admit it sometimes, that's why these guys are here. Whether they're here for 1 year, 2 years, 3 or 4, it doesn't matter. Like, this has to be the main focus and kind of where we plant our roots. So it's constant communication. It's definitely, an uphill battle to get these guys to buy in daily. But what we thought might help was these guys understanding that, we had their best interest in mind. And I think a lot of guys think of academics and, they think, oh, it's just something I got to do before I can get to the court, or before I can get to the weight room. And we made sure they understood that, when everything from the way we schedule to the way we plan their study hall and their tutors and whatnot, that we were doing it in a manner that was going to benefit them the most. So, that was one thing that we got in front of academics and said, listen, we've got to schedule time to eat, lift, get your treatments in, and allow them time for them, allow them time to get away, disconnect, and refocus. And before they came to the weight room, before they came to the court. And that's not an easy conversation, because one thing I say a lot, to our guys, to our staff, everybody is, I found out a long time ago, going all the way back to when I was playing ball, but it's not about me. It's not about you as a coach. It's about the kid, right? It's about the student athlete. And, academics sometimes thinks, and it is about them, but they had to make sure they understood that we have to make it about the athlete, not so much the academic requirements. We'll get to the academic requirements, but let we'll steer them a little bit, but let the athlete do some driving, So that was our biggest prong is our academics department. Moving on to sports medicine, we just finished our first year with our new athletic trainer, Ron Cooper. Incredible guy, came into a heck of a job for us, and he's right on board with what we're talking about, and we talk about it all the time, that the best ability is availability. I'll hit on it when I get to my part, but rule number one for me, way before I make anybody a stronger, better, more powerful athlete, it's rule number one is do no harm, right? And it's my job, and our job as strength and conditioning professionals to do our best to keep guys out of the training room and on the court. Will it ever happen? Absolutely not. But with sound good exercise prescription, having a plan and having a sports medicine professional that is on your wing at all times really helps. So these are a few things that didn't exist when we took the job 3 years ago that we now feel very confident about. The training room's always available every day, start at 7 a.m. We do individualized appointments. Anyone who's injured, so whether something's modified in the weight room, modified on the court, or completely out of practice or the weight room, if you're one of those guys, it's mandatory 7 a.m. treatment every morning, and then from there, multiple treatments throughout the day, whether it's right before practice and again post, or if you're a guy that can't get on the court, then you're doing something in the training room during practice. Constant daily communication of the player status to all the coaches, everybody on staff. I mean, everybody from, Coach Keats all the way down to our video guys and our GAs. They get an email knowing who's in, who's out, who's limited, and what restrictions they may have. And then, one of the things that we wanted to make sure that was addressed was this is just as much of a priority as anything else we do. Just as much as going to class, just as much as hooping, just as much as getting in the weight room and being on time with me. Late or no shows to treatment are absolutely unacceptable. Just non-negotiable, right? Especially if you're a guy that is missing time in the weight room or on the court. It just wasn't going to be it wasn't going to be taken easy. So one thing that we put into play was constant communication up the chain that, hey, so-and-so was either late or no-showed. This way we know that if a kid's trying to pull up lame at weights or at practice or in a skill work, you can always let them know, hey, you want to sit out right now, or you want me to modify something for you in the weight room. Well, where were you this morning at 7 a.m., right? We got to make it a priority. You got to understand that's how we change a culture, and that's what champions do. Moving forward to our nutrition, I know Robert hit on it a lot. This is hands down, this is the biggest piece in my opinion. Our guys, they're just to echo what Robert was saying earlier, is this: they're awful eaters. They really are, and I don't know what the root of the problem is. I don't know if I ever will. You got different palates. You've got guys that have never been exposed to different foods, and our nutrition team does an incredible job of getting an idea of what guys prefer, what they can't stand, always making sure that our menus are very vast in options, and making sure that guys are properly fueling. One thing that we did put into play this year was we do a mandatory breakfast at the Dale, which is our practice facility. If guys were on full meal plans, they did have the option to go to our on-campus cafeteria. We can actually look in and see what time they swiped and if they swiped, so we knew whether they were showing up or not without having somebody be there. But a lot of times, myself or Jared, our team dietitian, he would pop in and we'd sit down, have a cup of coffee while they were eating or something like that, and just hang out, have some one-on-one time or two-on-one time with the guys. We talked about nutrition. We our hydration. Constant battle with these guys. One thing we did last summer was, obviously we're down here in the North Carolina humidity, and we literally at the beginning of the summer we bought everybody a gallon jug of water, and we said, hey, listen, this is yours for the summer. We want to see you walking around with it every day. Our fuel station is constantly filled with juices and Powerades and bottled waters and stuff like that. But just something for the guys to have on them. Some of them drew the lines on it, like, get to this line by 10 a.m., get to this line by 1 p.m., so on and so forth. And it's something that you can tell that the guys are buying in when they all walking around with that bottle. And then, with our nutrition staff, it's constant education, making sure these guys not only know what to do, but understand why they're doing it, right? When you know a why, it makes it a lot easier to sell it, right? And, these guys, aside from having awful habits, I'm sure across the rest of the country, I'm assuming I'm not the only one with these issues, but these guys, not only do they eat poorly, but they sometimes they'll go hours on hours without eating. So we'll talk about constant fueling, and same thing like Robert was saying, that we'll make them post-workout smoothies. We use Core Power. We're a Coca-Cola school, so we use Core Power in our grab and go stations. We actually have our own agricultural department on campus, so we actually make our own chocolate milk here on campus. And years ago, before we got here, someone, I'm assuming in athletics, met with that team at the I don't know what you want to call it, the milk factory, and they make a chocolate milk called Power Pack, and it's got that 3-to-1 carb to protein ratio. I think it's maybe 24 proteins in it. So just like a regular Core Power, but a lot more sugar for our weight gain guys and our post-workout guys.